Hello, hey, and welcome to So You Think with Pastor Terry. Glad to have you on with us tonight, as we are on every Monday night. Tonight, we're so glad to have you with us, and I'm glad that you are with us and realize that So You Think is a show that is spiritually relevant, culturally significant, that encourages people to look at life's issues in a non-traditional way. And so tonight we're going to be touching on a really sensitive issue tonight, something that happened a few weeks ago, and I really didn't want to let this time slide without us chopping it up a little bit. And we're going to be talking about. So you didn't think we were going to talk about rioting or righteousness? So we're going to be talking about rioting or righteousness. And so we're going to be talking about that tonight. And but before we do, I want to bring on my co-host who is with me every week. And we're just so glad to have him with us here. Have Minister Cedric. How you doing, sir?
Hello, sir. How you doing? Hello, everybody. How are you?
Doing great, man. Doing great. It's been a cold one here, but it's all good. It's all good.
Like when you don't drink it, you just go out and walk in it.
but it's a really good time. But we're really going to be chopping it up tonight, just you and me tonight. And I really want to talk about rioting versus righteousness. And that's something that we really want to chop it up on, because when you look at righteousness, everything is based upon the truth. And when you're looking at rioting, that's based on a lot of not truths, flesh, a whole bunch of stuff. And so, but I want to really kind of lay the groundwork for this, because when you look at righteousness and when you look at correcting a true wrong, God really took me to Matthew chapter 21, verses 12 through 13, where it was talking about Jesus cleansing the temple and how Jesus entered the temple and drove out all who sold and bought in the temple, and he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold pigeons. He said to them, "It is written, my house shall be called a house of prayer, but you make it a den of robbers." And one of the things that they were robbing, these people were coming from afar, these pilgrims, they were coming to make sacrifices and so forth and so on. And they were being overcharged. They were being robbed by these people, who were selling these things that they needed to make sacrifices, animals, whatever it is they needed. And the sad thing, and so basically what Jesus did was act in his righteousness. To correct the wrong. So he went in there and overturned the table and said, "Look, you're wrong for what you're doing."
That's right.
But when we look at January the 6th, and everything that led up to that, that right there was not based on truth, but it was based on lie. Do you remember, what were some of those lies that you remember that were being said that led up, that helped feed into all that?
Some of the lies. Well, the biggest lie is that the election was stolen. That's absolutely the biggest lie there was. And it just morphed into a number of different things. Because keep in mind their whole big mantra was stop the steal.
Stop the steal, right?
So that's basically what this was about. Take back our country. Who's stealing your country? What do you mean your country?
Well, and I guess I really want to get into this whole thing. If we want to talk about, there was a whole lot of code words that were thrown out there, to kind of signal, his followers or those people that were feeding into this lie. And I guess that's what happens when people believe the lie. They'll believe every little thing that you toss out to them. And I guess some of those things that was tossed out to them was like red meat, like the code words, like save our country, save our country. Like, okay, like this isn't everybody's country. there was a whole lot of things that were being said. What were some of the what were some of the red meat that was being thrown out that you remember?
Yeah, like I said, basically they were saying that the election was stolen.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I mean that's the big deal.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying that there was voter fraud. There was rampant voter fraud.
Mm-hmm.
They said that that the voting machines were rigged to vote against Trump. If you voted for Trump, the machine would actually cast a vote for Biden.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, shall we go on? I mean, let's take back our country. I mean,
it was crazy, man. This whole thing was just, when you think about all that and what feeds into that, because the Bible talks about, and in the last days, there will be perilous times, will be, will intensify with evil characters, and that, that don't have any self-control. They're brutal, they're haters of good, they're treacherous, they're reckless. But here's the one that really got me, though, was the one in Second Thessalonians, where it really just kind of lays it out about the lawless one. There's going to be, this piece about the lawless one.
Yeah.
And it talks about in was it Second Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. It says, "You then, my children, being strengthened." Oh, wrong one. I'm in the wrong one. I'm all the way over in Timothy. Let me get over here. Let me get over to Second Thessalonians. Here we go. And it says this: a letter seeming to be from us. And it says, to the effect that the day of the Lord has come. Let no one deceive you in any way, for that day will not come unless the rebellion comes first and the lawless man is revealed.
Yeah.
And it says, the son of destruction, who opposes and exalts himself against every so-called God or object of worship, so that he takes his seat in the temple of God, proclaiming himself to be God. Do you not remember that when I was still with you, I told you these things? And you know what is restraining him now, so that he may be revealed in his time. For the mystery of lawlessness is already at work. Only he who now restrains it will do so until he is out of the way. And then the lawless one will be revealed, whom the Lord will kill with the breath of his mouth and bring to nothing by the appearance of his coming. The coming of the lawless one is by the activity of Satan, with all power of false signs and wonders, and with all wicked deception, for those who are perishing, because they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. Therefore, God sent them strong delusions. That's what really got me. That's what really got me, right? He said, I'm going to send strong delusions that they may believe what is false, in order that they may be condemned who did not believe the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. Isn't that kind of similar? Where you had all these people were delusional. It's like the truth was right before them.
It's still right before.
It's still right before them. But it's like they've been delusioned.
Maybe some people were delusioned, but see, I see a bigger thing at play here, me personally. And I don't see delusion. I see people who knowingly choose to believe and do what they want to do. They just make up excuses for doing it after that's what they want to do. Because you think of the types of people that were there, Proud Boys and all these different anarchists. Look, listen, their whole premise is to overthrow the government the way we see it. It's to have a land that doesn't have a governing body. They want to be in charge. I do agree with what you're saying. And for some people that is true, but I just personally don't believe that these people are delusioned at all. You don't believe me? Donald Trump ain't delusioned.
Yeah.
You got delusions of grandeur, but that's about it. But ain't there delusions about what's going on? Those people, people standing out there. Some of them people, okay, some of them are delusioned by this so-called Q, this mysterious person that nobody's ever met. But let's not get this twisted. And I'm one for simplifying matters. And the matter of fact is, they didn't like what they got. They wanted to oppress the vote. You're not like us. You don't vote for us. Then you don't need to vote. That didn't work. Well, we'll lie our ways through this, and we'll have all these people vote for him, and we're gonna keep telling this lie. So more and more people to vote, and we're gonna talk about how the other people are raping and eating kids in the basement of a freaking pizzeria and sex trafficking, right? We're gonna make everybody hate them. We're gonna spread all this vile stuff, and we're gonna enrage our group of people, this people that we want, and then we're gonna radicalize them in such a way that they want to support our cause. We're gonna be the victims, even though that we're not victims. We haven't been victimized, and so that's what I see. It's the biggest thing at play here to me.
Right.
And so, that's what's going on.
Well, I guess, Minister, I have like somebody had just posted, there were a lot of so-called Bible-carrying white Christians as well.
Everybody claim to be a Christian ain't Christian.
Right. And,
so
can you explain that a little bit, sir? What do you mean by that?
Everybody that claim to be Christian ain't Christian. Look, listen, if it walk like a duck, quack like a duck, it might be a duck, right? You don't walk like a Christian. You don't talk like a Christian. You don't act like a Christian. Jesus ain't there. All right. The lights are out. So don't tell me that you're a Christian, because I'm not going to fall for the okie doke. You can't tell me that and make me believe it. Now, I don't know your heart. God knows your heart. But what you showing me ain't Christ-like. And if I don't see Christ, guess what? Yeah, that's just my opinion. My opinion.
We have a question. We have a question from one of our viewers. And one of the things he says is lawlessness is not a new issue. Neither is deception. The only new ideology is how are these things avoided? Are they avoided by information knowledge that is rooted in the real truth?
You have to read that again.
Okay. He says lawlessness is not a new issue. Neither is deception. He says the only new ideology is how these things are avoided. How are they avoided? I mean, none of this is new, right?
No. This is stuff that's been going on.
But how does it get past? How does it get past us? We're supposed to be spiritually discerning. We're supposed to be, all these different things. But how did this get by us? So
I don't get what you're saying. How did it get by us? What do you mean?
How did all this get passed, or by the government, or by those that are in leadership that are also Christian? Some of them are Christian.
Again, they claim just because you claim to be a Christian don't mean you're a Christian.
Okay.
Listen. Let's just get down to the nuts and bolts. If the question is, then why didn't we see this? Why wasn't this thwarted? When you bring up leadership, and you look at the events that happened that day, 1 + 1 is 2. Some of the leadership was in on it. Okay, if Trump is the most powerful man in the country, and all of a sudden the National Guard has a problem, they can't get the okay to step in to help, then where did it come from? If the Capitol Police, all of a sudden, you got a force of 14,000 or however many thousand, and you only got 5,000 there, and you can't find the other people who are then somebody in leadership must be part of the problem. We don't have to be we ain't got to be dumb. And let's go to the platforms that they use. The FBI told them that there were some problems out here, that you can expect problems, but nobody really prepared.
Right.
Because of the leadership. Listen, when you've got the perfect storm, you got the perfect storm.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of goes back to something that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. I brought up the subject of what David Duke told the people,
Yeah.
when they took off the hoods, you
Yeah.
need to go become attorneys, become judges, become police chiefs, become all these people that control the quote unquote the system. And when you're in those positions, you bring in people that are like-minded like you, so that when the perfect storm comes like this,
Uh-huh.
you be able to do what is necessary to fulfill their agenda.
Uh-huh.
If that makes any sense.
Uh-huh. I get it. That came out, as you know, you go back to the 60s. All
Mhm.
right. That came out because of this legislation. That look, back it off. The Civil Rights Act that
Mhm.
came out. That was a big deal because of that.
Mhm.
But let's just be honest. They didn't have to send out a call for this to happen, because if you go back, oh man, we go back to Reconstruction.
Go
We
ahead.
go back just a few more years.
Go ahead. Yep.
Okay, what happened? Who were the people chasing the slaves to take them back?
Right. That's right.
Who were they?
That's it. Come on.
After the Civil War, who were they?
Mm-hmm.
Who was in the South trying to tell the black man what he could and couldn't do? Right?
Right.
Who were they?
Mm-hmm.
Things ain't changed.
Right.
Look. As a radio show I listen to says, he says, look, Jim Crow is now known as James Crow Esquire. He's put on a suit and tie. Just learn the law and learn to circumvent the law. You don't believe me? Talk about circumvent laws. Think about what's happening right now. Right now, you got what's his name? Mike McCarthy.
Mike McCarthy.
You Kevin McCarthy. You got Kevin McCarthy. When after the resurrection, Kevin McCarthy was saying, "Well, Trump bears some responsibility, right?" But a little bit of pressure from his peers, who are the minority in all of our government. And now he's saying, well, he didn't have anything to do with it. Apply a little bit of pressure. Oh, they threatening my kids. They threatening my family. I'm afraid to speak out because they are threatening my. Listen, I'm not trying to be funny, but it's just like this. If it's too hot in the kitchen, then get out. Politics is a dangerous game. It always has been. Politicians die all the time. You don't believe me? Go back and talk to JFK. Civil rights is a dangerous game. Dr. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. I mean, I can keep on going. It's a dangerous game. And unfortunately, in this country, that's what it sometimes comes down to. But you have to be ready to lose it all, to do the right thing, because it ain't about you.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
For speaking to communities of color.
Okay, let's go.
What would you say? This is a wake-up call for us. It should be a wake-up. It should be a wake-up call for black, brown people, colors.
You mean what's going on?
Yeah, with what's going on. It should be a wake-up call. But what would you say should be our approach as people of color?
Well, first and foremost, I'm gonna say it like this: it should be more than one approach. There are those of us who need to stand up and speak out and speak loud. There are those of us who need to be prepared to defend their own, from physical violence. But then we also need to have those people who are up here. I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it, we do need to have the Dr. Kings up here, the people who can talk and who can endure this thing and who can push these agendas forward. And because there's no real place for violence.
Right.
But there are those of us who can only take so much. And we need to be praying, right? And we need to be supporting one another. And here's the big deal. I'm just going to be honest. When it comes to voting, we need to get up off of our hands. We need to quit sitting on our hands. And we need to get out here and do what we need to do. Because I believe what's happening is, as you heard me say a minute ago, how I'm afraid for my family. You got politicians who are afraid to speak out because they're afraid their family might be hurt.
Right.
But we as a people, black people, anybody who's not white, we as a people have been going through this for many hundreds of years.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Fear of death.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I can't go do this because they might kill my family. But you know what? I got to go do this. You know what I'm saying? And so I think our approach, we have to have a multi-pronged approach. It can't just be a one singular type of approach. But I think that we all need to, when it comes to voting, we need to stop acting like our vote doesn't count. I say it all the time. If anybody believes that their vote doesn't count, anybody within the sound of my voice believes that their vote doesn't count, look at what's going on. They don't try to kill you, okay, just for you to sit in the corner and be quiet. No, they try to kill you to take what you got. You know what I'm saying? And that's what happens. And a lot of people, I've heard that so often over the past few years, Pastor Terry, is that people say, but my vote don't count. No, your vote counts. What you just did was you fell for the okie doke.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You fell for the okie doke. And that's just me. That's why I think it's a multi-pronged approach.
Right. We have, if you have one, I'm throwing this out there. If anybody out there has a question for us tonight, we're opening up the line right now. Just type something in the comment box. We will get to it. If you have a question, please put it out there. I know we got some on another platform we're using. We got some questions here. Basically, it says Christians are not immune to deception. Deception comes in many different forms, because if it isn't, then it isn't easy to detect. So when we look at our vote, let's put it that way. What are some of the things that we should be paying attention to, Cedric, that so we won't be deceived? Because what's happened is I'm finding that a lot of people vote against their best interest. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I think that deception, what does it mean to be deceived? We have to really be careful. Like when I was younger, and since you're talking about voting, am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. When I was younger, when I was a younger man, I was told that when it comes to voting, you don't know who to vote for because you don't know these politicians. You find out the one that most accurately aligns with your positions. Well, I was a soldier. I was going to be a soldier, period. Right? I was a soldier before I could vote. Right? So naturally, I go to the Republican Party because I believe that the Republican Party is the party that takes care of soldiers, that takes care of military personnel. The deception in that is, yeah, they take care of military people. They do. But so do Democrats. The deception in that was we do more. The deception is they don't see me as a black man in America. They see me as a green uniform.
Okay.
They ain't see me as a uniform, okay? The deception was I was going to fit in. I was going to fly under the radar. I was just going to be a soldier.
Right.
No, that was the deception.
Right.
Again, I say to people, our laws are not written fairly, and people get mad at me, especially when they're not brown or black. They get upset with me because the laws were not written fairly, and people don't want to believe it. So that was the deception for me. Once my eyes were opened and I realized, yeah, this man's army is not exactly equal. And so I started to grow from that. So when we vote, the way you keep from being deceived is you do your homework. If somebody tells you they're going to lower your taxes, go and look at their voting record. If they've been in politics before, go look at their voting record on taxes. If somebody tells you they're going to be a friend to teachers and they're going to bring better education to our schools and they're going to go and check their voting record. Go and check what they've done in the past. If they haven't done anything, really, do you really think they're going to change because you voted for them? Things like that. You want to check their voting records. And nowadays it's a lot easier to check things like that. And then let's say they've never been in office. Then look at who they're closely aligned with.
Right.
And don't be a one issue voter. Don't be a single issue voter. Because I tell you what, I know some single issue voters who voted for Donald Trump, right? The first time around. And after he's in office for 2.5 years, they're like, I can't believe I voted for him.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God, he's against abortion, but he's all about trashing women. You know, and that's what happened when you don't do your homework and do a character study of these politicians.
Mhm.
And here's another thing that I think, again, we're talking about, let us not be deceived.
Mhm.
Let's hold these people accountable.
Yes, there you go.
I had so many people tell me, well, Barack Obama didn't do what he said he was going to do. Well, you know why he didn't? You know why he couldn't?
Mhm.
See, here's the deception. People think he just didn't do it.
Right.
No, one, he wasn't held accountable.
Mhm.
Two, here it is. Here's the big one. We didn't get out the vote.
Right.
He lost the Senate and the House.
Right.
He couldn't do nothing.
Do nothing.
Understand policy. That's the next thing. Educate yourself.
Educate yourself. Right.
You know, so let's go get educated. And let's really listen. We can't approach, we can no longer afford in America to approach our political system as if it's romper room.
Right.
All right. We got to approach it like we need a PhD.
Mm-hmm.
We have to know the ins and the outs.
There you go.
We got to know what house governs what. We got to know, man.
Who's responsible for what, and this, that, and the other. Like, and that's one thing I love. New York kids. We had Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah, Schoolhouse Rock. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I learned everything about a lot of stuff about government from just something simple like that. I'm a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill.
We
have a question.
I'm gonna have to charge you for them vocals.
Yeah, we have a question.
Okay.
This comes from Pastor Anthony Scott. This also brings up a very interesting topic.
Okay.
At what point does Christianity and politics come together? Politics, when improperly presented, become a perfect platform for deception. It is also a viable tool for the division of the church. So, at what point does Christianity and politics come together?
For me to answer that question, if one word, character.
Explain.
Do what Jesus did, go where Jesus went. I'm just be honest. If you're a Christian, then there ought to be some Christ likeness within you. And it's character.
Okay.
Yeah, we need not be out here lying, cheating, and stealing. See, your character, if you really truly following the word of God and you really up on it, you ain't doing that. And you don't have to worry about tricking folks. You don't have to worry about deceiving folks. See what I'm saying? And we as the public, we still fact check you, trust and verify, right? You know, but nowadays with the way politicians are going, you don't even trust them. To heck with verifying what you said. I don't even trust you, right?
Right.
I always say to people, I have some good friends. I always say this to them. I say, and you know, Jason, I say, you keep telling me this is a Christian nation, but you say Christians shouldn't get involved in politics. Now, how are we going to be a Christian nation? Well, we're just going to pray. We're going to walk around and pray. We're going to walk, fight, and pray. But at some point, I'm going to have to buy some new shoes. I ain't going to keep buying new shoes. Okay? I'm sorry, my bad. But I'm just saying, you know, so again, that's the way I see it.
Right.
And you know, I'm raw and unfiltered tonight. I'm not trying to be all
that's perfectly fine, because we want it to be raw and unfiltered.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do though, we're going to have to wind this down tonight. We're already finished. This is going to be a short one tonight. But next week, you all be here. Next week, we have with us Dr. Steve Patton. He's a doctor here locally in Louisville. He's the medical director of community outreach for Norton Hospital now. Just as of today, was promoted. Congratulations, Steve. But we're also going to have Dr. Angela Booth Jones. She is an epidemiologist from up in Cincinnati area, and she is a specialist and board certified in infection prevention. And we're going to be talking about COVID-19, its impact on the communities of color.
Yeah.
And we're also going to be talking about the vaccines and hopefully dispelling the myths about the vaccines.
Yeah.
So we already got some questions that people have already sent in to us, so we can present those next week. So join us next week at 7:00 next Monday for that. But we do have one more thing, Cedric.
Let's go.
This is from Anthony Scott.
All right.
Pastor Scott again. He says, Cedric is correct. Taking it to another level. What happens when politicians use Christianity as a part of their platform?
I think it's up to us to call that out. You're a Christian. It's up to you to call that out. And how do we call that out? Again, when we start holding people to account, here it is. Mm-hmm. How do you do that? If you, Pastor Terry, tell me you're about this issue, mm-hmm. and I question you, I go to the town halls, mm-hmm. and I question you on this issue, and I stump you. Are you really a Christian? You know what I'm saying? Am I really to believe what you told me? But see, accountability is a monster, and I'm telling everybody, politicians do not like it. That's the reason why the GOP is caving the way it is. Mm-hmm. It's about accountability. When they know that they're losing their constituents, mm-hmm. things change.
Yeah, yeah.
So one word, accountability.
Okay, accountability. There you go. There you go, Pastor Scott. Accountability. So, hey, look forward to seeing you next week, Minister Cedric.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for giving and pouring out your uncandid. Yeah. You're uncandid. Not uncandid, very candid.
We are.
And we thank you all for joining us tonight on So You Think with Pastor Terry. See you again next week, next Monday at 7:00. Y'all take care and be blessed.
Standard time. Take care.